Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Naruto book review. This one's going to be for Naruto Sakura's story, which is called Love Riding the Spring Breeze. It's the third book in the Naruto Hiden light novel series. The next one that's going to be released in English is going to be the two Itachi novels, which are like light and dark. I don't know the exact names of them, coming out in November and December respectively. No idea why there's such a long break between this book and then the next one, and why they are seemingly skipping the Gara book, skipping the Konoha wedding book, um, and skipping the Akatsuki book. I think I'll come back to them, and they're just prioritizing the Itachi ones because the anime arc came out recently for the Itachi books. But who knows? Either way, we're focused on the Sakura story here. Let me just read out the kind of blurb on the back. The Great Ninja War did not only harm adults, but left many damaged children behind. Medical ninja Sakura travels the land opening clinics dedicated to healing children of the mental trauma they experience. She learns of a series of attacks against Konoha, and her investigation leads to an impossible conclusion. Sasuke is the terrorist mastermind behind them all. Using her skills and her heart, Sakura strives to clear Sasuke's name and bring the real perpetrator to justice. So yes, another really good book. That's three in a row as far as I'm concerned in terms of the high quality of these Naruto novels. This one is obviously like focused on Sakura, of course, and that's interesting because at least for me, Kakashi's like basically my favorite Naruto character. Shikamaru is like in my top 5, top 10. I'm not sure exactly. Sakura, I've never disliked as a character. I know a lot of people do dislike her. They think she's not the best character. I've always liked her as a character. Probably not in my absolute top tier, but I do really like her as a main character. I think she definitely earned her spot as one of the main cast. And this book, I think, does a really good job at showcasing that character. It is more focused on the romance side of things than the other two, but I think it works for this book because that's one of the things, of course, Sakura would have Sasuke on her mind given how the series ended. That, you know, really, like, while there are a lot of these other romances kind of developing and stuff like that, hers, she knows has the potential to develop, and that, you know, Sasuke is being a bit more open with her, but he's left to travel the world on his own and will be back soon. And the book is kind of a lot about her kind of thinking about those words, those actions of Sasuke during the last kind of parts of the Naruto series. Like the opening chapter is called Reminiscing, and it's basically just Sakura's thoughts on that last scene. You know, she basically compares like one of the first things Sasuke ever said to her, calling her annoying, and then versus the last thing, as far as she's aware, that he said to her was, Sakura, thank you, I'll see you soon. You know, you have nothing to do with my sins, and poking her on the forehead and leaving. Just the growth in their relationship has been big, and for Sasuke, that big change is so much more meaningful than I suppose a lot of other people, and so she sees that as like amazing development in their relationship. And you know, a lot of this book is just her kind of stewing over the, you know, when is soon, does he actually mean it, and all of this stuff. How close actually are they? And especially early on, you see her kind of doubting herself and doubting how close that is, given that she sees a lot of these other characters and their relationships forming, and they have their, you know, other side of the relationship right there with them. Very early on in the book, she encounters Naruto and Hinata out on a date during their day off, and she talks to them a little bit, and she just notices how happy they are, and Sakura is super happy for them. Her inner dialogue makes it super clear that she's so happy that the two have come together and found each other. We even get mentioned that they're engaged and they've sent out wedding invitations, so that's happening soon. But there is a just sense of like she's kind of disappointed where like that relationship has been just perfect. It's happened so quickly, whereas her relationship with Sasuke is just kind of, it's on hold, and it's nothing really to do, nothing kind of she can do about it, because Sasuke will come back when he comes back, and she's not sure when that is. And there's I wouldn't say jealousy, but just, you know, she wishes Sasuke was there, and a lot of this stuff just brings up the fact that he's not there, and Then she meets up with Ino, and the two of them start to talk about other budding romances among their kind of peers. First up, they mention Ino mentioned Shikamaru and Tamari's relationship growing, and this is fun because it's still at that early stage, like I kind of talked about in the Shikamaru book, where like Shikamaru only asks Tamari out on a date like towards the very end of that book, and so they're not making it like overly clear to everyone around them that they're a couple, but there's everyone's starting to see signs now, and like Sakura has to kind of be convinced here that it's a thing. Like they just kind of start talking about it, like, oh yeah, they do seem to spend a lot of time together. Whenever she comes to the village, she sticks around Shikamaru a lot, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's definitely a thing. They're definitely quite close, and they kind of flash back like she was around him a lot. Like their tuning exam fight, she helped him out during the battle against the Sound Ninja, and all these other little situations. Like there's something there, and they kind of giggle about that. Then Ino brings up Choji and the fact that he's been leaving the village a lot to go to the Hidden Cloud village to meet up with Karui and go on these dinner dates and stuff like that. And this just absolutely shocks Sakura. She's like, Choji going out with that fierce girl, like, because obviously Sakura knows of Karui, she's met her before. I suppose she primarily knows Karui from the scene where like Naruto just let Karui like destroy his face with all those punches. Yeah, that's definitely one of those relationships that probably needs an explanation at some point. Like, how do they know each other? Because as far as I'm aware, none of the scenes during the war they ever meet. No, and I don't think there's any even scene where like Shikamaru or Ino like talks to Karui and mentions Choji, or they're kind of roughly introduced to other characters meeting each other or anything like that. It's just this is the first hint of them even being a thing. So I'd actually like to know how that even came about, what their first meeting was like, what that relationship was like, where the attraction came from, and stuff like that. I'd like to know a little bit more about that one. So it was nice to get a little hint of it here. The other one is probably the relationship that is developed the most in this book, which is Ino and Sai. Now that was also touched on in the Shikamaru novel, because Ino was the one using her jutsu to help Sai break out of the spoken word genjutsu from the villain of the Shikamaru book, and she kind of talked, I suppose, previously about how she really wished that she could know him a bit more and connect with him better, and I suppose understand the meaning behind the kind of fake smiles that he has, and like make him smile for real. And then they kind of started to, there's a little bit of connection developing towards the end of that, but nothing really happened. Here, though, what happens is that obviously due to the plot and the search for Sasuke, the team that is put together is Sakura, Ino, and also Sai. They're put together as a team. And a good way into the mission, Sakura gets kidnapped because she's distracted by seeing the fake Sasuke, and gets kidnapped and is separated from the rest of the team. So there's a good section of this book where Sai and Ino kind of team up together, and they're searching for Sakura, and then they find her, and then there's like a double fight where Sakura fights one of the villains on her own, and then Sai and Ino team up to fight the other villain. And it ultimately ends with just showing that they have really good teamwork together. They can kind of communicate without having to like talk a whole lot to each other. And then at the end, Sakura just kind of pushes Ino to kind of make the move, like you clearly like him, go ask him out. And she kind of pushes him, and they obviously are going out on a date basically immediately at the end of this book. So good development in that sense. I really do like their kind of interactions. They don't go too heavily in depth into it, but just showing that really does like Sai, and just some of the little things that Sai says to Ino shows that he does like her as well. Like when the team is being formed, like Kakashi's like, okay, what about you three team up? Sakura and Sai, you've worked together before, that's fine, but like, you're okay with kind of coming on board as a 3-person squad. And Sai's the one who actually speaks up and is just like, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'd love to join the team. Are you okay with that, And she's like, yeah, and she kind of like is blushing a little bit because of these moments. So there's some fun romance moments throughout this, and then obviously for Sakura individually, a lot of her inner dialogue focuses on the kind of like Sasuke, like would he do something like this? And like she's kind of beginning to doubt it because people like Gaara are hearing these reports as well, and Gaara's like, no, I saw Sasuke. He looked like Sasuke. His chakra was Sasuke's chakra, and she's beginning to doubt herself, and it leads to this really, really nice scene between Sakura and Naruto. It's like one of the only scenes where they just talk one on one. And to me, it felt like the reverse scene to basically the way Sakura and Naruto's interactions were in the Naruto the Last movie, where she was crucial in terms of helping Naruto discover how he really feels about Hinata. His interactions with her in this one are kind of showing the opposite side of that, the support that he can give Sakura as a friend, just basically showing like, look, Sasuke wouldn't do anything like this. Like, the fact that Sasuke hasn't shown up to deal with these fake Sasuke rumors shows that they're not that big of a deal. He's not going to show up because this isn't a big deal at all. And you shouldn't worry about it either. That's not the kind of guy he is. He's not going to make a big deal about this sort of stuff. And it just, his simplistic view and really just basic understanding of who Sasuke is, he's not going to care about someone trying to tarnish his reputation like that. He is only going to come back, obviously, as we know from the last movie and stuff like that, when Naruto is kind of out of the way a little bit and can't quite protect the village exactly. He'll be the one to back Naruto up as the kind of other leader of the village. And so Naruto, Sakura just really appreciates that from Naruto, and she kind of makes this little joke about how like Naruto kind of acting like her big brother. It's this kind of funny thing for her that like to see him acting like that. Now, as for the plot revolves around these two villains who are Konoha Onbu members, specifically from the kind of medical section of it, and their ultimate goal is effectively that, okay, they've developed all these new kind of drugs and stuff like that. There's three that they're planning. Two of them are made. One is this drug that can turn someone kind of their chakra signature plus their body very, very accurately into a person. So they use some of Sasuke's DNA, which they find somewhere else, to basically create this pill that if you swallow, you basically turn into a carbon copy of Sasuke. You don't have his powers or anything like that, but in his chakra signature and looks exactly, you look like him. And that's where the whole rumors come from. And they are spreading these rumors with the aim of getting the real Sasuke out of hiding or wherever he is, so that he will come back to, save his reputation, and then they can capture him, steal his Sharingan, and use that to create a Sharingan drug that can basically, if someone takes the drug, can get Sharingan themselves, and they're going to sell this for a lot of money. The other thing that they've also been doing that we see a lot in this book is that they have also found DNA of Naruto and the Tailed Beast chakra, and they have made that into a drug that they're using in this. So where a lot of the Onbu members that Sakura, and Sai fight, take this drug and have a kind of basic version of the Tailed Beast cloak. It's this kind of purple version and it has slightly different properties, but it's effectively the same sort of a power boost. It doesn't last permanently, but it's enough that it allows them to combat some of the more powerful ninja in this book. Again, they want to sell that for money. And then the other thing they're doing is that because the fake Sasuke attacks have kind of been against the feudal lord of the Leaf Village, the budget for the Leaf Village has been going more into the Onbu rather than Sakura's child therapy centers that are mentioned on the back of the book, that are her big success basically since the end of the Ninja War, Great Ninja War, has been her creating these kind of basically mental health clinics for the children who have suffered because of the war. There's one in the Leaf Village, there's one in the Hidden Sand Village, and both of them are doing well, and it's kind of all down to Sakura's idea coming up with this. Tsunade has helped her, Ino has helped her, but it's Sakura's idea, and that's her big success. And so money's kind of being taken away from that, because obviously it's to supply the villains, whose names are Kido and Magire. They're the two Anbu members who are kind of leading this project, and so they want the money to obviously supply the kind of search missions to these various locations where the battles that Naruto and Sasuke have had to steal their blood, steal their hair, body tissue samples to make their drugs. And it's initially it's a really cool idea. I think ultimately where the villains sort of become a little bit less interesting and they're not the highlight of this book is that they attempt to give them a backstory, a meaningful backstory, but it comes a bit too late, it happens far too quickly, and doesn't have as much of an impact as it should have. Basically, Sakura delivers the final blow on the main villain, Kido, and as he's flying through the air, knocked out, he flashes back to basically the key event in his life that kind of led him to this spot, which is basically that when he was young, the reason he became a medical ninja was because his family didn't have a lot of money, but he really wanted to be a medical ninja, and so his father gave him the money to start his tutelage in medical ninjutsu, but his father had this incurable disease that could be kept at bay with a drug, but the drug was quite expensive. And then the reveal was that obviously to send him to the tutelage, the money had to be kind of taken away from the drug. So the father had actually been taking basically blank drugs, like tablets that there was nothing in them, and kind of lying just to save up money so his son could go to could learn medical ninjutsu. And it links in, it's an interesting connection. It's actually a nice take on a fairly basic kind of villain motivation of just they want money, in that the reason he wants money is a symbolic thing of just that he feels like his life was kind of ruined early on because they didn't have money. That for him to become successful, his father had to die, all because they didn't have any money. So his villainous actions are all to make money. There's nothing really else to it. He just wants to make money for the sake of making money, and I suppose so that money will never be a problem, money will never cause the death of anyone close to him. It sort of works, but it's like a page of backstory. And, you know, Sakura eventually learns about it at the end. It's like, okay, and she kind of relates it to her child therapy clinic centers of just like, if these centers were around when he was young, we could have prevented this in that sense. And it kind of further proves Sakura's point that, you know, these clinics are so important, and so the funding goes back to her clinics, and so they're going to be more successful. I think more of the other villages are going to adopt having a kind of more mental health situation going on here, where I suppose the key thing here is that it's not just tackling these issues with like drugs and stuff like that, that they actually have people trained to like talk to people and counsel them, that Sakura prioritizes the kind of counseling and only uses the drugs when absolutely necessary in her clinic. So it's I think it's a quite well thought out kind of use of a lot of the different aspects of this book. Other than that, that's basically it. I like a lot of the interactions, as I said. Sakura and Ino's friendship is highlighted. Sakura's friendship with Naruto is highlighted a little bit. Sai, as like her other team member, is in it a good bit, which is nice. Kakashi is actually in it a good bit as well. They're always going to him as the sixth Hokage to decide their next actions, and you know, he has interesting takes as Hokage. He's struggling to adapt to having to take a more kind of sitting in the Hokage office role, leading from there, rather than being able to go out on his own and perform the actions he wants himself. But he ultimately is a very like astute leader who's very intelligent and knows the correct kind of paths to take. But overall, I do like it. I'll talk briefly about the fights actually to just end this off. We end up with Sakura fighting Kido one-on-one, and then Ino and Sai having a 2-on-1 fight against Magire. The Ino Sai fight is actually really interesting in that it shows off their teamwork really effectively. You know, Sai's drawing ninjutsu techniques plus Ino's mind transfer jutsu stuff actually works quite well together, and they come up with some interesting tactics, showing how kind of well their personalities actually work together, how good of a couple they make, and there's this. It's a pretty cool kind of plan they come up with at the end to fight this person who obviously has these tailed beast chakra stuff. They end up using poison kunais against him and tricking him. It's a pretty cool thing. I think that that's a fight that will work better if it's ever animated down the line. And the Sakura fight though is really awesome because she gets a one-on-one fight. No one comes in to help her at the end. It's just she struggles a little bit in the fight, but she comes back and defeats Kido at the end. It's really impressive. She uses her myopic regeneration technique. He, I think, uses like the tail beast cloak in like, and there's 6 tails or something like that. So it's or is it, it's the full 9? I can't really remember. But anyway, he has a large number of tails on his cloak, and his cloak takes a different form. It's more like physical, hard armor, this kind of purple armor that comes around him. And it's a really clever way that the fight ends, in that the whole fight, basically, she just is punching him consistently really hard in the same spot. But what happens is she cracks his armor, and then it instantly heals. And he's just like, hey, your punches aren't doing anything, it's healing on its own. And he is getting damage on her, he's tossing her around. He eventually stabs her through the stomach. That's when she activates her own myopic regeneration technique to heal. And it's then she reveals her plan that, no, you haven't been healing at all. I've been healing you. Every time I punched you, I've healed over your wound. But here's the thing, here's how healing works and my own myopic regeneration jutsu works. It like accelerates like the cell division, but it fundamentally is not really like adding any new cells, so it's just kind of filling over the wound without it being like strong. So it's this thing where she's just been hitting the same spot over and over again, making the armor weaker and weaker and weaker, and eventually she just delivers one final blow, doesn't heal it, and just completely, KOs him in one shot. The cherry blossom crash attack, and it's a really cool fight. I really hope they animate it, just because Sakura has some big moments obviously at the end of the series. She's had some good fights in the past, but I think this will be an amazing anime arc to just get a really solid one-on-one fight for Sakura out, where she just owns a very powerful villain. It was really impressive, I think. But yeah, that's been the book. Definitely recommend it to anyone who obviously hasn't read it just yet. It is really good. Even if you're not the biggest fan of Sakura, I think this book will be a book that you do like. Obviously, I hope it is animated once the series comes to an end, but we'll have to see about that. But yeah, other than that, that has been the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.